Is there a certain story of yours that you love telling or had a reaction which you were really proud of or really surprised of? Is there a specific story that sticks in your mind?
Ooh. Well, I have two. If I can I spoil myself with two?
Please.
So one of them is when I used to do for about 25 years or so, I used to go and speak in schools. I used to give school assemblies and I used to talk around confidence and how students can connect with that inner story about what it is that they would do. So I would tell students the story of how I learned to swim. And so I would give them the backdrop. It's a longer story, so I'll give you the kind of like quick and easy kind of direction on it. So I would say to individuals that, I didn't know how to swim because it wasn't something that my parents necessarily encouraged me to do straight away. And there were some stereotypes that I believed when people told me that I went to swim that, as a black boy, my bones were too heavy, I'd swim. Stick to the bottom of the pool. You didn't see any black guys in the Olympics, so what was the point kind of thing? I was like, right, wow, really? Is that what it was? And then I met my missus when I was 19, and we went out and she was this amazing swimmer. And I really wanted to impress her to show her, like, this is the guy who you want to be. It's the guy who you want to be with. He's got game. He can show up with you wherever you want to go. It'll be absolutely cool. And then one day she says to me, Dave, let's go swimming. And I'm like, oh, crap. Like I'm 6'2", so I can get into most pools in the shallow end and I can walk around and walk at as close to the deep end as possible. It's not going to be a problem. But anyway, the story I tell is that she's there swimming and I was so impressed with her when she calls me over to where she was in Harrow. So in Harrow Leisure Centre, I start making my way towards her. Unbeknownst to me, the deep end of the pool was in the middle, not at the actual end. So I'm walking towards her, my footing kind of like goes. I fall in the pool, start to panic and drown, and she has to swim over and save me. And so I know when I'm telling this story in school, kids are absolutely like in tears because obviously I'm animated, but they're absolutely crying their eyes out. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm drowning and I'm screaming and she's got to come over to me. And she's laughing while she's coming to save me. And so I tell this story, and then I fast forward it a number of years where, I say that I had gone on holiday and had a little bit to drink, and I fell in the pool. And it wasn't even deep, and I thought I was drowning. And my wife had to come up. She was my wife then. Had to come and save me again. And I was like, right, that's it. I don't care. Whatever happens, I've got to learn how to swim. And I say that just after my eldest daughter was born, I decided I'm going to go swimming. And I saw a guy in the pool who had no legs. There was an amputee who's lost his legs. I'm just underneath his knee. And I see him, we having a conversation. And we actually have a conversation. And I'm looking at him. And in my mind's eye, I'm kind of like, okay, this guy's got no feet. How's he going to swim? And it's like he's read my mind. And he said to me, you think I can't swim, don't you? And like my voice goes really high. And I was like, oh, no, I didn't say anything. It's okay. It's cool. But we strike up this conversation. He tells me that he'd been in a car accident, his legs had to get amputated, but his friends encouraged him to go and do swimming, and then he builds it back up. And then he shares with me a little anecdote about swimming or doing whatever you do is going to be in your mind. And once you can convince your mind, your body will follow. And so then I share that story with young people that's how I learned to swim that day, because all I did is I changed the message in my mind. But the story piece from the assumptions that I made at the beginning all the way down to the being taught by an amputee basically about being confident and getting into the pool, that whole story arc that I take people through is both laughter and reflection and what can be done at the end. And why I repeat that as something being quite powerful is on LinkedIn, Instagram, and even on the high street before the pandemic, there were people who would see me who had been in schools and they go, oh, I know who you are. You're Mr. McQueen, aren't you? And I go, yeah. I remember when you came to my school and you told us about that time you were in a swimming pool and you nearly drowned and your wife had to save you and how it helped you to build confidence. And so for me, I thought, if kids are going to keep on giving me that, or students were going to give me that story for many years, that was a really, really powerful story for me to remember. And the second one that I always give, specifically more to adults, is just around the confidence around networking. And I say that even though I'm a confident person, somebody has to teach me how to network and not to be afraid to go and have conversations and make small talk with people. And then I talk about how I use that. And as a result of being confident enough to go and make small talk, there was a friend of mine called Ben Saunders, who was the youngest British solo explorer to the North Pole, who I'd met through a mutual friend. And we had just got speaking, and he found out that I was really passionate about African development and what have you. He started talking to me about TED. And he was saying, look, TED are doing this conference in Africa in 2007, and I think you should go. And I'm like, well, although I've got a real passion for it, can I go there and be a representative if I'm not? He just said, no, just do it anyway. Take a chance. I know Chris, who runs TED. I'll put in a good word for you and see what happens. A few months later, I'm on a plane flying towards Tanzania at TED Global, being this special guest as a fellow at TED for the amazing conference. And I make some really good friends. And I talk about just making those connections, some of which I still have to this day. But as a result of that, me stepping outside of my comfort zone, I also got an opportunity, because I went to TED, to have a conversation with a friend who said to me, Dave, I think you should be on TV. I go for this audition. I end up on Channel 4 because of that network friend. I ended up doing a show for Channel 4. As an end result of that, a friend of mine said, I really like the stuff that you do there. You should do some stuff for business and business online. And I'm like, yeah, one day it comes to happen, I'll do that. Virgin Media, somebody from Virgin Media who I know tells me that they're looking for a presenter for an online show. I end up doing the show, and I'm like, it'd be really good to meet Richard Branson. They said, well, we'll see what we could do. I end up going to Richard Branson's house as part of this whole Virgin Media program. I end up interviewing him, and then I end up being a pitch coach for his competition for 4 years. So I say to individuals, the reason why I share that story is, look, part of it, no, without a shadow of a doubt, was luck. I was in the right place at the right time. But I also say that luck is sometimes what we make. It's about being bold enough to be in those spaces. Because even if I was in the right place, if I didn't have the confidence or the skills to do what I was going to do, it wouldn't have made a difference.